Okay, so these next two videos are going to have the same confirmation verses because it was going to be just one message, but I decided to split it up into two parts. Just kind of trying to keep the topics grouped together. So the first one I have is Romans 10:15. And how can they preach unless they were sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Because the things I'm going to talk about in this video and the next one, it's not to give you the spirit of fear, it's just to get you prepared. I also have 2 Timothy 2:7, which reads, reflect on what I am saying, for the Lord will give you insight to all of this. I had also been seeing the word insight on a book in the house too. And then this morning I went for a walk and I kept seeing these roof signs, and honestly this is the second time I tried to record this video because in between that video and this one I got a verse while I was here in the car, and it's Matthew 10:27. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. So he just keeps bringing me back to that verse. In this video I'm going to talk about some things that I already talked about. So in the darkness series, the part 3, when I talked about kind of preparing for the possibility of a power outage when the eclipse was there, and taking different roads because the interstate is going to be crowded and things like that. Usually when God brings things like that to my attention and I speak on it, I don't notice those things anymore. It is not something that continues to get my attention. However, it is something that is continuing to go on. I got Strong's Hebrew 2:47, which means to gird, encompass, or equip. And so I looked up the definition for gird, and it means to prepare oneself for action or to provide. So going back off preparing for if there's a power outage or if there's things going on, I'm going to link the part 3 video here in the description after this loads. You know, regardless if you like the title that I used for that video, you know, it's really just about what God was leading to me about, like just being prepared, like having water, having things that you need in your home. I had a vision because I was like falling back asleep, and my husband, in this vision, my husband is at the gas pump, but he's filling up these big red gas containers, right? So that's all the vision was. It was just quick, him filling up gas containers. Now, when I went for a walk, just to confirm the dream that I had or this vision, as I was walking, it's dark outside, and so it is very noticeable when someone has their garage wide open and their light on in the garage. So when I was passing this house, I kind of glanced over, and the man was standing there, and he was filling his gas tank with one of those red gas containers. So again, as I said in those other videos, just make sure you fuel up your vehicles prior to the eclipse happening. And then I kept noticing like withdraw money, get money. You know, if there is a power outage, you're not going to have access to pay with your debit card, things like that. So pull out some cash just in case. I kept noticing pet supplies, so make sure you have your food for your pets, and water. Like, I kept seeing water so much that I was like, oh, you want me to go on a fast? And like, it's been going on forever, so I'm like, okay, water, water, water. And then I saw this man filling up his water bottles at the, like, one of those water places, those little things where you can just fill up those big 5-gallon waters. But he had a ton, and he was filling up the water. And lately at the grocery store, I went to a Dollar General and there was no water to be purchased, and also less water to be purchased at the grocery store. So just make sure you have your water. Also, I was led to this school book again because God just keeps bringing my attention to it. And in this story, it talked about filled up his bucket, and then so the kid's name is Corey. Corey filled up his bucket. Emma filled up her bucket with water, and then it just kept talking about filling up the buckets. And how I knew this was the story was because I kept getting drawn to the word juice box, and right here it says juice box. So as soon as I opened this, I saw juice box. I'm like, okay, well, I've been noticing juice box forever. Let me read this story. And they're just filling up their buckets with water at the beach or whatever. But also when I went to go meet with my friend, she just randomly said, like, I didn't mention any of this to her. She just said, oh yeah, I'm looking at one of those bins or buckets that you can set outside to collect rainwater and things like that. So again, just have your water ready. Oh, and I saw a video of someone, like a movie, they had lost power and they were filling up their bathtubs with water. So I'm not saying go fill up your bathtub. I'm just saying make sure you have water. As I mentioned, all these, what is the word? The disaster things that have been declared in different counties. Like our county has a disaster thing. They've very much emphasized to have at least 2 weeks of food and water and things you need just in case. So they're already putting out this warning for that. So it's not just me saying this, and just there are news articles that correlate with the things that God has been leading me to. Also, I had kept seeing my son's shirt. It's a Naruto shirt, but he's like eating ramen in the video. And then I was at the store yesterday and my husband's like, oh, look at that shirt, it's got ramen on it, which made me remember my dream that I had. Was there was a boy and he was at Walmart or a grocery store, and he was young, maybe in his late teens, 19, 20, like a young adult. To me, it's still a kid. And this woman had all this groceries and she was buying stuff, and she was telling him, you need to get your stuff, you need to go buy these things. And he was like, I don't know what to do. And he started to panic a little bit. So I just walked over to him because he was saying he didn't have a lot of money, and I just put my hand on his shoulder. I was like, hey, you know, it's all right, come with me, let's go look at ramen, because that's so cheap and it'll fill you up. Let's go see how much ramen we can get for you. So that was the end of the dream, and that's how ramen came into play here. And then I kept noticing yesterday the word chili, like on a sign of a restaurant. That's some restaurant that opened up I never been to, but they were talking about like a chili burger. And then I went into the store and there was like display of chili, and I was like, okay, when we talk about picking up food and things, you might want to pick up canned goods that are fast meals, something that you're not going to have to worry about using your oven, because if you don't have electricity, that's not something that you'll be able to use. And I kept noticing barbecue grills or barbecue. Even when I was walking, I saw like a couple barbecue grills for the trash. I saw somebody had their barbecue grill in their front porch. And I got Strong's Greek 440, which means charcoal or coal. So use your grills to cook during this time if you don't have electricity, if that happens. And regardless, this is good stuff to have in general if you have a power outage. I mean, these are just easy things that you can do if you are going to have a power outage, not just about the eclipse. Like, this is advice or things that can help you at any time if you don't have power. So things you can cook on the grill is easy. I had bought like a large thing of ground beef, because when I go shopping, I usually shop for the entire month. Like, I get all the big stuff. Like, in between, there's times that I have to go to the store and I have to buy like milk or things that are needed to be replaced quickly. But as far as meats or something, I like to buy it enough for the month. And this happened during snowbid, when we lost power, when Texas had this big snowstorm. We lost all of our food, like all the stuff in the freezer, we had to throw it out. So this is just something that I did, and God's been like, hey, why don't you tell people what you're doing? So here it is. When I buy ground beef, I usually will portion it out and cook it, and I season it with just generic like salt and pepper while I'm cooking it, right? Because After you drain it and you let it cool, because you have to let it cool, you can freeze cooked ground beef. And then when you need it, you can defrost it and then add your seasonings for whatever it is that you're going to use for that meal. If you're going to do like a taco night, or if you're going to, I don't know, put Italian seasoning on it because you're going to use it for spaghetti, stuff like that, it doesn't taste any different, or the texture is not any different. That saved me when we didn't have power at different times, because when the power goes out, that food is already cooked. If it was raw, it'd be ruined. You can't use that, you know. So especially if you know you don't have power, if it starts thawing out, you can't just run and cook all this ground beef at one time. So that really is just something that I like to do. And so in this time from now, if you're preparing or whatever, it's just a tip. Maybe you might want to try that, so you're not having to waste the money that you bought on these food, because when it defrosts from the freezer, you got to throw it out. I'm assuming the same can be done with chicken. I've never done that before with chicken, but think of all the frozen foods we buy and we cook in the oven or whatever. So I did try that yesterday. I've cooked on some chickens, and I diced them up because it's easy if I want to defrost them, warm them up with, like, if I make chicken burritos or something like that. So I'm gonna try it that way. I haven't tried it with chicken yet, so I can't tell you right now how that is. Okay, so anyways, then I was led to these videos about hand washing your laundry, and I thought this was just for me, because I've said this multiple times that my washer is broken and I refuse to pay $60 for a part on a ridiculously old washer. And I could buy a new one right now, but like, my situation is just fine. I mean, I go to my sister's every Sunday anyways, so I just bring my laundry over there. But during the week, if there's something I need, I know how to hand wash clothes. I've done it before. So small things I've been hand washing throughout the week, and on the weekend I wash the big stuff. So I would make sure you have some, I know a lot of people use pods or whatever, but you know, just in case, if there's a power outage, or at any time in your life if you're having a power outage, have some soap that you can use to wash your laundry if you have to hand wash it. So I think that is it for things that God brought back to me again regarding when I talked about the eclipse and a possible power outage. This little last piece is just some random information that I have, and I don't know where to put it. So this doesn't have anything to do with anything I just said, but I have like zero idea where to add this into any other video. So I'm going to do it here. For about a month, God has been leading me to cheese, just like the cheese tax song for when your dogs do, you know, you pay the cheese tax. I don't know if you guys remember, like way back in the day, people were like throwing sliced cheese at people's face, so like slapping people with a slice of Kraft cheese. And then these videos keep popping up of like where an owner of a dog would pretend like they were falling asleep, but they would hold a piece of cheese in their hand to see if their dog would take the cheese. And then a scene from Diary of the Wimpy Kids where there's some story where like a cheese was on the ground at the playground. Everybody just was like, what is that cheese? And they never touched it, and it got moldy. It just laid there. It was cheese, and finally someone touched it, and they're like, oh no, you touched that cheese, whatever. So just tons of cheese stuff. And my daughter is not lactose intolerant, but lately she's been like, oh, this, after I eat this cheese, it makes my stomach hurt. So I was like, what are you trying to show me with the cheese, right? What is it? Even yesterday, she was watching some YouTube video on the TV in the living room, and the person talking just couldn't stop talking about cheese. So yesterday, and I'm going to mention this YouTube channel because it was brought to me twice yesterday, 2 different videos that go with 2 different things that God has been showing me. So with the cheese, it is a channel called Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, and they have a video where they talk about you need to check your cheeses, because they found an article that something called rennet, R-E-N-N-E-T, is something they use to make cheese. I don't know too much about it. I'm going to link their video so you can get everything from there. But there is genetically modified or GMO rennet that Pfizer produces and that is being used in all these cheeses, but they're not really required by the FDA to put that on their ingredients package. So in that video of the Doug and Stacy off the grid video that I'll put in the link, they will go over tips on how to find out what kind of rennet is being used in the cheese that you eat. So like I said, this whole cheese thing was just, this has been going on for like a month and a half, me trying to figure out what God's trying to tell me about cheese, and this video just finally shows up. And had God not been bringing me to cheese so much, I probably would have never clicked that video. So that's it for this whole message. I will be back with the next one, so always find the light. Thanks.